Hi guys, welcome to episode 9. So, could be the last one. If not, there'll only be one more. So we've got a few things to go through. So let's get into it. We're editing the main theme.xml file, and what we're going to look at today. I'll just grab my controller. I'm calling it metadata. Oops. Okay. Alright, so we're talking about first of all the description down the bottom, so the description text, and then in this theme over on the right hand side we've got some data there. We've got players, released or the release date, the genre, times played, last played, and rating. Where's some ratings? There we go. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about just a couple of things that you already know about, like fonts, etc., and sizes, and positioning, and just a couple of things on how they work. And with what you've been seeing in previous videos, a lot of this should make sense, I hope. So, in the XML file, you'll see a section, and in the files I've given you, it's around 130. We've got a metadata, description, rating, etc. section. It's quite lengthy, but is quite repetitive. Alright, let's just go into the rows. So there's 3 rows here, which is listing all the labels. So when you see this MD_LBL_, that's just a label. We've got rating, release date, developer, and there's a few others that aren't actually in this theme that you can use. I actually do, and it has a position of 1.1. I don't really know what this does. I just tried fiddling with it before, and it looks like if you don't have a position of 1.1, it positions any of these labels on the screen that you have not actually got code for down lower. So for this example, we're just going to leave it like that. I actually have had it like that in every single theme I've ever made, so let's just stick with that. Then there's a next section where it's listing all the labels, all the sections, options, I guess we'll call them. There we've also got a color, which is the font color, which I'll explain why we've got it here. Font path, alright, so you know what font path does, and you also know what font size does. Now what this is doing is setting the font color, the font style, and the font size for the rest of this section, all of this. So if you don't put in a different font size or color anywhere in here, those 3 settings are going to carry right through all the ratings and all the description, everything. Alright, so this color here, this B8ACEA, is actually the color of the 1, the date, the word action, 0 and never, and rating, because it's carrying right through. But you'll see these other headings, we've got pink, yellow and blue, etc. That's because we've forced the theme to override that default color for this section. Alright, so if you just want the color and the size, usually you want the size, it's probably the color you might change, maybe the font as well. Once you set that up, it'll cover all the sections we're about to talk about. Okay. Next is rating. So there's 2 parts of each one of these. There it is. So we've got the LBL rating, which is the label. So when I mean by label, it's the word rating, the word last played, the word times played. So we're talking about the label. Okay, well, let's talk about the rating label. First of all, we have a position, horizontally and vertically. We have a size, Now we're talking about a font here, so you would think the font size that we had up higher of 0.025 is the font size. Yes, it is the font size. So the size is the zone. When we spoke about game list in an earlier episode, the size was not the size of the text, but actually the zone that the text appears in. Alright, so it's quite small. It's like 0.06% and 0.08%, etc. So when we're talking about the label, the rating label, so there's just a section around where the word rating is. So if the horizontal size wasn't wide enough, the word rating would be cut off and you'd see RATI ... So it cuts it off when it gets cut off like that. Oops, gone to sleep. Okay, so that's the size of the area. The colour. Now I do actually have that entry is probably is really redundant because it's the exact same as the one before. So if it didn't have that there, it would appear that same purpley colour anyway. And Z index you already know, so that's the ordering. We're using 5 for these because I think that's the highest layer in this theme is 5, so we always want that on the top. So that entire little section there is just to do with the word rating. I might change it just to white so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Fs. Save it. Yes. Okay, the word rating there is white now. One thing I better mention, actually, which I forgot to, so all this metadata only appears in the view style of detail of video. So basic view just has a game list, that's it. So detail and video, yeah, we'll display all this information. Okay, so that's the rating label. Then we actually get into the rating, which is the little stars you see. So ratings from 1 to 5 when you scrape, or you can manually adjust each game if you want to. So it doesn't have the LBL in the name here, so it's not a label. It's to talk about the rating. Z index of 5, want it on the top. Position, horizontal and vertical position. The size. This is the size of the area. So I guess what this does though, unlike font, if you're making the area bigger, your stars or whatever you use will go bigger with the area or shrink with the area, so it can display, and it will always display up the max of 5 stars in that area. So I've got a horizontal and vertical size here, and then we've got a filled path, which is when the star or the rating is displayed on the screen, and then there's an unfilled path, and this is just to the PNG on the Pi. Let me just show you those files. So in the _inc folder and in images, there's 2 files called star empty and star filled. Now they are the exact same pixel size image, but the star empty, I'm going to open it and you'll see nothing. It's because it is a clear PNG, there's nothing in it, and the star filled is the star. Must be a clear background, obviously, PNG, like all the images. So you need both. You don't have to have stars. You could have circles, you could have smiley faces, you could have thumbs up, anything. But remembering, depending how big or small you make it, if it's really small, a detailed little image won't display nicely. Okay, so I think you understand most of that. Like if I just change the position to 8 horizontally across the screen from 7.4, you're going to see this starred area move over to the right. So reload the theme, put it under detailed, and these are good because we can just switch between detailed and video to view these. Okay, stars have moved over. Alright, do we need to do any more on rating? Probably not, I think that's it. Alright, we're going to get into all this other, actually no we're not, we're going to do description. So down the bottom there's one called description. Doesn't have a label normally. You could put the you could put MD underscore LBL underscore description and put an entry above that if you wanted to put the word description on the screen. But the description is the scrolling text description we've got down the bottom here. Now why it's scrolling, you don't have to do anything fancy there. So whatever zone you make the area, the size, area, and display that text in conjunction with the font size. If it doesn't, all the description for that game doesn't fit in that zone at once, it will just scroll. So that's how that works. Okay, so font size 0.03. Now I've got a font size entry here. I'm going to scroll at the top. The default font size for all of this area is 025. So what that means is I'm making the font size of this, just the description, that little bit bigger. Also overriding the font color. And then we've got position and size. So again, size is the area. And we've got a font size set. If you wanted to have a specific font just for the description, you'd obviously have to have a font path entry in here as well. And then we've got Z-index. So if I change this to 05 and save it, you're going to see that description text be much larger. Okay, and it's scrolling because of that. Let's make it really tiny. Very tiny. Not much scrolling needed there. Okay, so that's the description. Description works for both detailed and video view, like I said. Everything in this section does. Alright, so we'll jump back up a little bit, rating. Then we're getting into all the ones on the right hand side of this thing, the players, release, genre, etc. And each one has 2 entries. So looking here, this is to do with players. So we've got a label of players, so it displays the word players. We've got a position, a size, and a color, and a Z-index. I don't have a font size, that's going to use a default of 0.025, and all of these will. Now that the font color I've overridden, and it's a, what do you call it? Maybe it's a pinky sort of color, so it's not using the light purple color for the label. And this MD players is the actual players number, which displays the scrape number of players, position, size, Z-index. Now in both of these you could have your own font path if you wanted to, and not use the default one that we've set up for this section. You could change the size, yeah. So that's how they work. What I will say is this section here with all the players, release dates, etc., fiddling with the position and size takes time. Yeah, it's a bit, you've got to do some real fine tuning. What I will show you though, if we quick look at the theme, you can see that players, release date, genre, time state, last played, and their entries are all lined up horizontally, so in a straight line. So if you look at the label of players, it's 0.074, but the number of players is 0.84. And then if you look at all the other entries, they're the exact same, because they're obviously the exact same distance horizontally. 7484, 7484, 7484. And then vertically, moving down the screen, players is 0.2 and 0.2, 24, 24, 28, 28, 32, 32, 36, 36, and you see they're all going up by 0.04, and that's to get the spacing right vertically. Could actually stop there really, because that displays the whole lot. So that was players. Release date is the exact same. We've got a position, a size, a unique colour for the label, Z index, then the release date, position, size, Z index, and it's going to use the default colour because there's no colour entry. It's going to use the default font because there's no font entry. It's going to use the default font size because there's no font size entry. What you do need to pay attention if you decide to fiddle with these is when it's just displaying text, it's got these little text open and close sections. You'll notice in the release date, it's actually a date time. Now I have sort of manually typed some of these in myself once before, or a few times before, sorry. And I think I had text here and it wasn't working, breaking the theme, etc. There's another one on last played, which is date time. So, look, I have players, release date, etc. Let's see what other options available. There's rating, release date, there's developer, publisher, genre, last played, play count. Okay. So if we missed one there or not, maybe I've got them all set up. Alright, so a little tip. This is one I picked up from David Marty a couple of years ago when we first started to fiddle with this stuff. Let's say you wanted to remove last played. You could delete this entire section, but if you wanted to sort of reuse this theme XML into another theme and as your base to start editing, etc., you might as well leave those entries there because you might need it in the next theme. So all you need to do is just change the horizontal position instead of a 0 to 1 point something. So this is actually 174% horizontally from the left, and the last played number is 184%. So that's just all it does is push it way off the screen. So we'll save it. Oops. Didn't click the right save. Alright, save that. Reload the theme. Now what we're looking for is last played. Oops. Which was appearing under times played. The right here has now disappeared. Now the theme's actually producing it and generating it, but it's just way off the screen so you can't see it. So it doesn't really affect performance of the theme, so just leave it there. And then next time you go to use this XML, you won't have to fix all these entries up. You just got to bring those values back to less than 100% and they'll appear on the screen. Okay, let's reload the theme. Okay. All right. So we've just covered all the metadata, so the player's release date, etc. So remember, you can set up unique colors and font size and fonts for each one of those, or you can have one at the top of the section, which will just dictate all of that through that entire section. We talked about the rating and all the same principles. They're all just position, size, etc. And remember that rating, there are two images. There's a star, you can call it anything, but they need to be two different names. I've used star_filled.png and star_empty.png, and they need to be somewhere in your theme, but the _inc images folder is a good place. And then we've spoken about the text description at the bottom. We've got this tiny little text at the moment, which is no good. Now the last thing I probably need to talk about with this is at the very top of all this section, it's got view of detailed and video. Now remember, none of this stuff works in the basic view, but it does work in detail and video. Now you've seen me do this in previous episodes, so this is covering both those views all in this one section. Now you can have them different per view, and I actually do this sometimes because detail doesn't display the wheel art, or it's called marquee in the thing. So because it doesn't display that, it frees up a little bit of on-screen space or real estate. So you might have a little bit more room, so you can actually display a few more of this metadata that you may or may not have had in the video view. So what you would do is you would actually have to copy this entire section right down to view, incorporating all that, and you would copy it, paste it, and at the top you'd say in the view you'd make that just for detailed, and then the section above it you'd make it just for video. And what could we do so you can see the difference? Maybe we'll just move the rating stars. So on video we're going to move them to the left. Let's make it a fair way, 6.5. So on video, the stars themselves and the rating are going to be over to the left. And in detailed, oh, there's that dreaded alarm. Go to work, Dwayne. So we'll save. Done that. Okay. We're currently on. Actually, let's load video. Stars should be over on the right from memory, are they? It's the left, sorry, wrong way around. Ratings and Game Boy's not very good. Let's get a better system. Okay, Virtual Boy. So, well, it's not very good either. Alright, so video view, the stars are way over to the left. Change to detailed. Stars should be over on the right. I made a mistake. See what I've done? I actually moved the label. So let's put the label of detail back. I'm only human. Alright. Change it back to video. Stars over to the left when we get some. Now well, the stars should be over on the right, and they are. Okay, so that's it. I just wanted to demonstrate there that you could split out that and maybe in detail view you might have a few things, or you might have different you can position them different on the screen, maybe the background and where everything's positioned could be different for video or detail view, and for basic for that matter. But then you would also have to split out other things like the game list in this theme, where one game list for all views, but you already know all about that. So I think that's it for today. So we've done all that stuff. Eventually I'll get around to making one more video, I think, which is just a little bit of a recap and thank you. We've actually covered everything we need to cover for you guys to take the base files that I've sent, and tinker with that and make your own theme. So you can change out your own wheel art and backgrounds, etc. And so I hope this has been useful today. So later this week I'll just probably do one more short video. I just wanted to apologise, I guess, for the delay in this video. I don't tend to stick to the same project for too long before I get distracted, which I started to, and people who subscribe to my channel will see I'm making a new theme called Fabuloso, which I'm really liking actually. I don't always like the themes I make, but I start an idea, and once you've committed to it, you might as well finish it, so I put it out there, and then I get the odd theme that I really like, I'm really proud of. So it's pretty much done. I just got to sort out all the files, etc. Anyway, enough rambling, got to go to work. Thanks guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the last episode of this series. Cheers.